Okay guys, when I get my figs in, I wash them real good, rinse them off in a bowl of warm, hot, really hot, pretty hot water. And you see, what you want to do is remove just these tips. Okay, and all I do is take a knife, and the reason why I put them down, I just put them down on this little paper towel and cut them off. And the reason I do that, I go through so many figs. I used to do it like this. For years I did it like that. And then, I don't know, my skin is, I have that sarcoidosis, so my skin reacts very weirdly at times, and it got thin right here, and I got me a bad cut, and I don't need that. So that's why I just put them down. Whichever way is easiest for you to cut them is fine. And then there I have all the ones cut. And what I do is I put these in a gallon Ziploc bag, fill them up, and store them in the refrigerator. And you can usually do that about 3 days if they're not overripe. If they're squishy and overripe, they will sour much quicker. But those that are like this, they're not overripe, they're just barely ripe. And that's the kind I use mostly for the cooking ones. That, you know, they don't sour as quick, and once you add the sugar, and it does real good. Here the figs have finished cooking. They've been cooking for a few hours, and the syrup is thickened somewhat. Now when you're going to look at this syrup out the pot, it doesn't look very thick at all. But once it's going to cool down, it's going to thicken up some. Now these are not, when we say fig preserves, we don't mean a preserve like as in a jam or a jelly. It's almost the consistency of a jam, but it's really not. It's just preserved figs, and over the years we've just called them fig preserves. So that's basically what old-fashioned fig preserves way down in the South, it's pretty much what they are. Some are broken up, some are whole. I like mine pretty much broken up, as you can see, because for the most things that we use them for, like I like to eat them with toast and biscuits and stuff. I don't want a whole big round fig sitting on my biscuit. Watch, I'll show you if I can. See, some like this one, I don't really want that rolling around on my biscuit, so I just kind of smash it up and spread it off on my biscuit more like this. Also, we make fig tarts, fig cake, what we call fig pie dough, but it's really like a layer of pie dough, a layer of figs, almost like a fig tart, but in a big pan. So I'll show y'all when I'm jarring them up, just like you do regular canned items, and then I'll show y'all the finished product. See, it's kind of steaming up my lens, so the next thing you'll see is the in the jars. Okay guys, this is what you want to do. You want to have a jar. Now my jars come out really hot, straight out the dishwasher. I put the dishwasher going full of jars right before, you know, about 30 minutes, however long your dishwasher takes. And I got my figs here in the pot, very, very hot. You know, you don't want small kids in your feet while you're doing this, because this stuff will send you to the burn unit. Okay, so let's see if you can see that. You can't quite. Let me, where you see it going in. Okay, maybe there you can see it. And I just take, you know, ladles of it. I like to use this smaller. You can see the size of it. I like to use this smaller ladle just because that's what I like to use. I find it easier to control. And you just put ladles of it just like you do any canning. My figs are very hot, a very hot syrup. You want to be careful with it. Don't get it on your skin. And I just put them in, and then when I get close to the top, I make sure there's some juice. And I leave about an inch, maybe a half an inch, right up to the rim there. And then I take you shouldn't use metal or anything, because it's a possibility that your jars can crack. So do as I say and not as I do. This is not really a learning video, because for the fact that I do my figs the way my grandmother did it. Probably over 80 years of doing it like this. So I've looked in books, and they don't even recommend doing figs without a pressure cooker. Now what's funny, let me get a lid, a top, and what I find funny is my grandmother did this for all of her life until she was 80 something years old, and just finger tight like you do. And I grew up on this. Nobody in my family ever got sick that I'd ever heard of, and this is the way she did it. So guess what? That's the way I'm doing it. My mother's done it this way forever, and so you do what you want to do. Those of you who have figs nowadays, enough to can, I'm sure fig trees live to be old, and I'm sure somebody in your family has done it. Now, if you happen to inherit some land or something, bought some land that has fig trees, then maybe not, but you'll probably be familiar with the fig process. But I wanted to show y'all because I know some of y'all have asked. And I make sure, one thing I make sure is I make sure I don't have okay, let me show y'all. See how this fig will look? Let me put them out here. Figs are obviously round objects, okay? It's a very round fruit. As you can see, I can't operate. I'm having trouble operating the camera, and okay, there you go. See the two balls? I make sure that there's no ball sticking up above the liquid of the syrup. So you want to make sure of that, because I know my grandmother always made sure of it. And another thing I forgot to do on that other one, so please, this is very important, is to wipe the rim. Always wipe the rim of your jar, and especially for figs, because if you're familiar with figs, you know that they have some little ball seeds like. So you want to make sure, and you want to make sure and wipe your rim clean. You don't want one of those little seeds, which is basically a little tiny ball, to get caught in your jar. Okay guys, so that's my figs. That's my huge pot of figs. And those of you who are familiar with figs in the South and familiar with Magnolite pots, you know that this is the large medium. It's called a medium roaster, I think, but it's big. It is very big. In fact, I had 32 cups of figs in this pot. So that's how much figs I'm processing. And I'll show you the jars when I get done.